Hi, everybody. My name is Phil Cannato. I'm an implementation consultant with ProSymmetry. Today, we're going to look at two ways that we can account for time that we know our resource is at work, but this time is going to represent the period that they are unavailable to be assigned onto projects. So whether you call this admin time, non-project time, keeping the lights on, it's going to be time that our resources are not available to be assigned onto our projects. So we'll look at admin time, which is going to be a direct offset to the resource's base capacity. And then we're going to look at setting up a project to represent that time that the resource is unavailable. And there are some advantages to that, which we'll show. All right, so the first thing we'll look at is admin time. Admin time is very easy to set up, very easy to apply to your resources. We'll go ahead within administrative settings, and we have our admin time tile here under our administrative exceptions. I'm going to go ahead and create our admin time. We'll just create it here. And now let's go apply it to a resource. So I'm pulling up my resource here, Chucky, a refresher of our resource screen here. And we're going to look at this in terms of FTEs. So the top section is showing our resources capacity. So the top figure is our base capacity. So we have a 1 FTE definition. And at the bottom, we see our cross-project allocation, which shows all of the resources assignments. To apply admin time, we go ahead and we'll just add it in here. So here's that category we created. Very easy to apply this. If you want to do this in bulk, this is available through our data sync feature. You can upload this directly from Excel. We'll go ahead and carry this out a little bit, and then I'll hit save. So you can see we'll switch back over to FTE, that we have an FTE of 1 base capacity 20% of the time. For both of these exercises, we'll assume that our resource is not available for 20% of the time that they're at work. And then we're left with a net availability of 0.8 FTE. Next, we're going to look at creating a project that represents our non-project time. So I'm going to go ahead and create one, and then we'll show what these look like out in the flat grid. I'm going to create, we'll call this admin time as a project. And give it some dates here. We'll make it a year long. Then we will assign, let's see, we know that Bert wants to be assigned some admin time here. So we'll make this an assignment in terms of FTE as well. So using the same 20%, I'm going to make an assignment across the whole year. We'll go ahead and create it. So now let's go take a look at Bert's record. So a little different here. We see our base capacity still defined in terms of 1 FTE. However, when we want to see that admin time as a project, it's actually appearing down at the bottom as an allocation. So look at all the allocations for the year. So rather than offsetting our base capacity, we're actually considering it an assignment here. So the difference here, and the reason that I really like the use of a project, is when we get into the flat grid. I'm going to go ahead and select our capacity models here. All right, so in this view, I'm going to add in one more thing. Let's add in the project that we just created, which admin time is a project. So in our flat grid view, I'm looking at these two resources. They're filtered on them by name. I'm also grouping these by name, so by resource name here, which allows me to enable some of these options out here. I'm going to show their allocated percent, their net availability, and allocation percent as part of this exercise. So the first thing that we want to see here is Chucky. So if you remember, Chucky had a base capacity of 1 FTE, and then we offset that base capacity with a 0.2 FTE admin time entry. So right here, I'm just going to highlight that we see the totals here. The sum of our allocation is 80% or 80% of an FTE. That's showing that he has 100% allocation percent with no net availability. When we go to the next month and we see a sum of 70% of an FTE allocation, it's showing an allocation percent of 88%. And it's still showing us a net availability of 10%. So this is where I like, in a minute, we'll show admin time as a project. What this calculation is doing is saying 70% divided by 80% gives us 88%. When we get into our next month, we have a 60% allocation, which 60 divided by 80% shows us a 75% allocation rate. So it seems like, the math is not as straightforward as our scenario here, where we have the admin time as a project allocation represented here. So right now, when I look at Bert, if I'm his resource manager in this one view here, I see a complete picture of everything that's making up his time at work, where I'm missing that non-project time in this view down here. We carry this forward to our calculations here. We're going to see a sum of 100% allocation. It shows us 100% allocation percentage. When we get to his next month and he's allocated 90%, it's showing us a 90%. So the calculation, you can see, becomes very straightforward. So we get an 80% sum of allocations. Very straightforward calculation, 20% net availability. So two different ways that you can do this, depending on your setup. Again, if you're using an external system, the admin time can translate very nicely, and it's very easy to work with. If you're looking for this full picture of what does a resource have on their plate at any time, you may want to look at utilizing a project to hold the non-project time. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your Tempus representative or visit our help center for any additional questions that you have.